Well, thank you so much for that intro, Orlando. I totally appreciate it. Um, and thank you everyone for welcoming me into this space. I actually don't know very many of you, but I'm so happy to get to know you all a little bit better. Um, Tanner, that work was so fucking cool, man. That was amazing. I really loved it. I I feel like there's I mean I really love it when like disciplines and areas like intertwine and combine so that's uh so the way like the way your your background as a musician and a composer combines with your interest in poetry just kind of blew my mind, and it was really amazing. um is that work published somewhere? Can I is it shareable with people? Because I really wanted to share it with my research creation students and also my Indigenous literature students. Um,
It's brand new.
Amazing.
So I could, but I'm happy to share it with you. It's actually going to be broadcast on the radio in Canada
Oh,
sometime
cool.
this month. It looks like
Yeah,
a commission for the SNR festival.
that's so amazing. I'm so blown away by it. I really love it. Uh,
Thank you.
could you I'll send you my email address. Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll shoot mine over to you as well. Thank you
Oh,
very much.
yeah, thanks. Sorry. Yeah, just really blown away by that. Uh, so uh, so my name is Jordan. I'm Niska, from the Pacific Northwest, but I grew up in Vancouver, in Canada, and this work that I want to read for you, is work from one of my more recent projects, um, and it's it's work that's conceptual and appropriative, and it's also work that's very much about um, what it means to be an intergenerational survivor of residential schools, but uh, and to experience that wake of violence that moves through and between generations. It's about what it means to be Indigenous, but to be severed from your home community by way of colonial violence. It's about what it means to be an urban Indigenous person. So it's kind of about all those things, um, and it's conceptually derived from James Fenimore Cooper's *The Last of the Mohicans*. Um, just a really quick background. The process was that I pulled out all of the descriptions of land and territory from The Last of the Mohicans, and I then wrote over them, I wrote through them, I wrote between them, I wrote beyond them, um, and and this process of so it was a process of like of reclaiming this kind of fictional territory, which I also understand as a process of trying to understand land and territory through fiction, and also trying to understand my own or my ancestors' traditional territory without actually being able to go back there ever, um, because of colonial violence and displacement and dispossession and all of that stuff. Um, so I will read I'll read the thing. It's about a thousand words or so, or the initial part of it is about 1,000 words. A deep, narrow chasm, black rocks. The river lies still on those black rocks. A mile above there is a tumbling. There is a moment. At this very moment there is a tumbling in the air a mile above us that runs straight through the open heavens and into some other place. A deep hollow, no shape, no consistency, no breaking, some 100 feet in the air. Some places are softer than others, some 100 feet up in the air. Some right angles enter into narrow passageways, and some right angles break off a mile in the air above us. These rocks are full of cracks. Water has worked through some deep hollows, breaking here, wearing there, breaking and wearing until the chasm separates into two caverns. Some 100 feet in the air there is no danger. There is scattered driftwood and the scent of roses. There are glimpses of roses and rocks and shrubs. There is a steep, rugged ascent, a path that winds among the black rocks and trees. Somewhere in the air there is a scent of roses. Somewhere out there is the wilderness, a reasonable distance through scenes of greenery and nature and glimpses of mountain ranges that disappear just as suddenly as they appear. Among the rocks and trees there are mounds of earth and other rocks and other driftwood. Somewhere there is an islet and another islet and a clear sheet of water and bald rocks just beneath the surface. There are forests and straits and islets and rocks, and somewhere in the air is the scent of roses. There are crevices and fissures and rocks. The rocks surround themselves in other rocks, although there are sometimes mounds of earth in between. On the shore there are fragments of rocks. In the deeper parts of the river there is more tumbling. At this very moment the river pours into a wide fissure where it just becomes more water between rocks. Between the broken rocks and the deep roaring cavern there is the scent of roses and driftwood and trees. There is light and straight naked rocks and immovable trees. There are woods and rivers, and the bed of that river is ragged with rocks and intersecting ravines that cut silently across the water above, where somewhere in the air is the scent of roses. The woods are full of sounds and rocks and trees. The woods are full. The upper air, where it drifts over the tops of trees, is full of sounds. Just where it breaks over the tops of trees, there are slow intermingling drifts of sounds and scents that brush over the clearing some 50 or 60 feet up in the air. Rocks and logs and mounds of earth and narrow fissures and bottomland and little ponds and a brook that shoots through the narrow fissures, spreading through moment after moment of stretched light. There is a bellowing in the passageways between the rocks. There are moments of admonished madness. There are moments spreading over the acres of bottomland. There are precipices and adjacent lakes and headwaters. There is a fierceness here that floats through the waters. These rivers are full to the brim. These waters stream down to our feet. In 6 hours these waters will rush in, and in another 6 hours these waters will rush out. Salt grows in this water, the water in the woods and on the Great Lakes and in the higher parts of the sea, stretching out horizontally until the current flows upward like blood at the throat. On these waters the edges touch the shores and the deer paths trace back to the streams. In the short distance in between the water and the black rocks is a deep shadow. The breath of the stream, the glancing waters, the throat of the river, these woods are full. Gliding above, somewhere up in the impenetrable darkness, is the scent of roses. Somewhere there is the sound of rushing waters ringing through the deep stillness of the night. The moon rises and the light glances here and there on the water and down to the riverbed. At times the light hangs in the air on the breath of the river. There are dark waters, there is night. This is the unmingled sweetness of air that sinks into the foaming waters. These are the vaults of forest. There is a stillness here somewhere in the wilderness. There is lightning and then there is stillness. There are echoes that rush through the forest until they disappear. A mile above there is a tumbling. In the foaming waters there is the color of blood gushed from some other place, some other throat, some other softer place. Some waters carry the dead. Somewhere up in the air there is the scent of roses. Some flames last forever. Some waters thicken with limbs and bodies and trembling voices. Some waters are still. Somewhere in the velocity of the uproar there is a current of air, an unmingled sweetness that sinks into the forest. The narrow path adjacent to the brook is full of bodies. The blood is natural as water. Glassy mirrors, the sunken hillsides, the shores, the black rocks between the mounds of earth, the glittering stars, the open air floating over the forest. In the valley the stream overflows onto the banks. Here the tumbling water washes bones, and the waters of the river go into the salt lake. There is a canopy from the woods spreading over the lake, shadowing a dark current with a deep hue. When the sun is setting, these waters become healing waters, but the sun is not setting, and the current branches silently into the dark parts of the lake. Somewhere in the forest, bark is peeled from a tree. Branches break. For many minutes there is a struggle and a deep, cool wind. There is a current of air. There is silent motion, plunging and glancing and sweeping over the broken branches. The sound from the rushing waters drifts through the air. There are words and yells and cries as the air flows up from somewhere in the deep, narrow ravine. There is silence again, with the exception of the sounds that come from the rushing water. Um, so I'll stop there, but it goes on for tens of thousands of more words and is impossible to read all of it. So thank you guys so much.